If you had to ask me my least favorite way of cooking vegetables, I think the answer would probably be boiling them. It tends to leach off a bunch of the flavor and a bunch of the nutrients from the ingredient. Depending on what the ingredient is, it tends to waterlog it. It's just not a good time. Now, if you're trying to boil something, one would argue that steaming is kind of the logical improvement because you're not leaching away too much of the flavor, you're not waterlogging it as much. But what if I told you there was a better way to get like the original unmasked flavor of that ingredient that boiling or steaming could achieve? And I don't think you're gonna like it. Having said that, please don't click off this video because I'm going to show you that the microwave, yes, the microwave, the appliance that chefs love to hate, is actually amazing at cooking a certain number of specific things. I'm just gonna do a quick side-by-side comparison. You don't need to take my word for it. You can look at the results and we'll take it from there. Let's go. Before we do any actual cooking, whether that's boiling or using the microwave, step one is preparing your ingredients. If they are not cut into similar sizes, they are going to cook at different times. So you might end up with, let's use this decently sized piece. This will cook in, let's say, 2 minutes of boiling, let's say, and this little guy will cook in, let's say, 1 minute. So uniformity is very, very important, especially for our microwave technique. You want small, bite-sized pieces and they will cook perfectly. So let's look at that. Boop. So, as you can see in my Steve Cam, this is now called Steve Cam, these are the size of the pieces that we kind of want. So they're like little guys, little guys. So what do you do when you have a bigger boy like this? Now, what I like to do is I'll cut this into 2 or 3 pieces. So I'll cut off one little piece like this, and this guy I will cut in half again. So you end up with little individual bite-sized pieces. Ooh, extra little note, this is the stem of the broccoli. It's delicious. What I usually like to do is again, cut this into, oh no, we're making a mess. Steve Cam is messy. What you do is cut this into smaller pieces and then cut into like little bite-sized pieces. Boom, 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 boom. They're also like quite tender. You can eat them raw. Like shave them, put them in salads, broccoli stems, stop throwing them away. Okay, now that I've taken this head of broccoli and I've split it into 2 equally sized bowls, we're gonna do our side-by-side test. This one is going to be boiled, so we're setting this aside, and this one is going to be using my microwave technique, which you're probably a little sus of. So, what am I gonna do? Start with, I'm just gonna season this with salt. This is my microwave bowl. Now, I typically add a little bit of olive oil to this as well to add like a little bit more flavor, just like becomes really nice. But I want this to be as fair a test as possible, so I'm just adding a little bit of salt to this. You can mix it around a little bit, but it tends to fall through and get mixed up anyway. Like, it's fine. No, it's not going to stick too much anyway at this point. So we have our seasoned broccoli, and I'm just going to take a little bit of cling film, put this over my bowl, make sure it's nice and tight, and take off the cling film. Now, this is wrapped in cling film. You can probably do it in a reusable container, but I don't want to like pop the lids off your reusable containers whilst this cooks in the microwave. So let's set this aside. The only thing left to do is to prepare our boiling water. Again, this is how I would normally boil any sort of vegetable. A good amount, let's move the camera, is this. Boom. A good amount of salt, that's barely anything. Good amount of salt. Now my typical, was I not shooting? One moment, please. If you're at all curious about how much salt should I add to boiling water, it kind of depends what it's for. 1% of the total weight of water is usually a good starting point. So if it's 2 liters of water, I would go 20 grams of salt, but this will kind of heavily depend on your taste. For quickly blanched or boiled vegetables, I'd go way more salt than you think you'll need, but this isn't a boiling video. It's time for our side-by-side testing. Now, for our microwave broccoli, I'm just going to put this in the microwave for 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and we're going to take a look at it. That's in there for 1.5 minutes. I am also going to go ahead and add my broccoli. They are going to be cooking for roughly the same amount of time, and we'll do like a little side-by-side comparison. Things have been going on for about 2 minutes, and I think both of these are soon going to be done. So I'm just waiting on my microwave to ding, and I will show you exactly what we're looking for. Please forgive my filthy microwave. Ow, this is burning my fingers, burning my fingers, burning my fingers, burning my fingers. So these are our microwaved broccoli. here we have our blanched broccoli, which smells a little odd. Like this actually smells quite nice and broccoli full. This smells a little weird. I don't know how to describe it. But let's get this out. Okay, so in front of me, all I have is like a tray with a little bit of paper towel to absorb some of that excess moisture. And as you can see, things are getting a little bit like damp underneath. These things are quite wet. I just wanted to cook them until the stems are like barely tender. They still have like a little firmness to them. It's not the worst, but like these frond bits, they feel very wet, they feel very soggy. Everything just feels a little bit mushy. And as you can see, probably inside the water, it's a little bit of green. So like flavor and nutrients have definitely been leached off. Now, let's check our microwaved babies. Be very, very careful when you're opening this. Like if I pull up this, a bunch of steam is gonna pop out and maybe burn you. If you're not sure if everything's cooked through, just open it a little bit and give it a little poke or a taste. These seem perfect. And this was maybe like 2 minutes for like half a head of broccoli. So I have both of these things in front of me and I can already draw some quick conclusions. As I mentioned, the boiled broccoli is a little bit softer, a little bit like mushier, especially around the fronds. The stems are cooked to roughly the same doneness, but like both the color and the amount of water being left behind by the steamed ones versus the boiled ones is quite remarkable. You can see here it's quite soggy. The other side is much, much less soggy. There's much similar to just like steaming, but it's not nearly as soggy. In the microwave version, even the stems, they break apart super easily. They're very tender. So even if you want to use like slightly thicker, chunkier, denser vegetables, so something like carrot or pumpkin, it can all be cooked in the microwave. Just make sure the pieces are not very big and you're cooking it for long enough in a heat-safe bowl. Also, potentially my favorite part about this whole technique, this is the amount of dishes that it took to cook the microwave broccoli, and this is the amount of dishes and water and whatever that it took to cook the boiled broccoli. Kind of a no-brainer. That's pretty much it. I hope you find this technique super useful. I was heavily inspired by Chef Steps. I'll leave a link in the description where I found out about this technique many years ago. Show them some love, they have a YouTube channel too. If you want more fun ways of cooking vegetables, please check out this video where you can add a ton more flavor to like generic green things like this, especially Brussels sprouts. Enjoy.